I had to share a room with my work rival. Then she said, "One bed. Relax." The first thing I saw when Olivia Bennett pushed open the hotel room door was the single king-size bed beneath a photograph of the Manhattan skyline. The second was her expression. Not embarrassment, not panic, but the calm satisfaction of someone watching her rival lose a debate before it began. I set my suitcase down and reached for my phone. Every room in Midtown was booked because of a medical convention. Our client presentation started at 9 the next morning, and the woman beside me had spent 3 years trying to beat me at everything from campaign strategy to who could make our boss say brilliant first. "I'll call the front desk," I said. Olivia removed her coat, folded it over a chair, and looked at the bed. "One bed. Relax." I should have realized then that the room was not the real problem. By sunrise, one of us would be accused of stealing confidential work. Our biggest client would be ready to walk, and I would have to decide whether winning the promotion I had chased for years was worth destroying the only person who had ever made me want to stop competing. Before I tell you what happened, like, subscribe, and comment. Would you trust a rival when every piece of evidence pointed at them? 3 hours earlier, Olivia and I had been sitting on opposite sides of a delayed flight from Chicago, each pretending the other did not exist. At 29, I had built my career on being prepared enough that nothing could embarrass me. I color-coded backup plans. I carried 2 chargers. I once presented a campaign from a rental car after a pipe burst over our conference room. Olivia, who was 25, and somehow made improvisation look more disciplined than planning, had spent the flight marking up our pitch deck with a red pen that clicked every time she found something she disliked. Click, click, click. "You know those slides are mine," I finally said. "I know," she replied without looking up. "That's why they need help. We worked for Halcyon Creative, a Chicago advertising agency that liked to call itself collaborative while rewarding anyone who could turn a meeting into a blood sport. Olivia and I were its 2 strongest senior strategists, and our managing partner, Grant Mercer, had made sure we knew there was only one promotion waiting after the Aurora House pitch. Aurora House was a nationwide hotel brand trying to recover from years of bland, forgettable advertising. The account was worth enough to change Halcyon's future. Grant had told us the board wanted 1 project director, not 2. "May the best idea win," he had said, smiling as if he had invented competition. For 3 years, Olivia and I had been compared in performance reviews, seated across from each other in concept meetings, and assigned overlapping accounts with just enough ambiguity to make credit a constant argument. I believed she had taken my best idea on the Westbridge campaign 2 years earlier. She believed I had let everyone think it was mine. Neither of us had ever discussed it without turning the conversation into a trial. By the time our plane landed at LaGuardia, sleet had started ticking against the windows. Our car crawled through traffic. The hotel lobby was packed with travelers wearing conference badges, wet coats, and expressions of exhausted defeat. The desk clerk looked apologetic before I even gave our names. "Mr. Reed, Miss Bennett, I'm very sorry. The reservation imported as 1 room instead of 2. "Then fix the import," I said. Olivia rested one elbow on the counter. "Jason." "What?" "You're talking to her like she personally designed the software." The clerk gave Olivia a grateful glance. "We've checked every sister property within 4 miles. There's nothing available tonight. We can provide a rollaway." "That's fine," Olivia said. "It's not fine," I said at the same time. The clerk winced. "I should mention the room is one of our smaller kings. A rollaway won't meet the fire code." I stared at Olivia. She stared back, almost amused. Grant did not answer either of our calls. His assistant sent a message saying he was at dinner with Halcyon's board and would respond later. The client expected us at Aurora House headquarters at 9. Walking away from the trip was not an option, unless one of us wanted to hand the promotion to the other. So we took the key. In the room, after Olivia delivered her famous instruction to relax, I called the front desk anyway. I called 2 nearby hotels. I checked 3 booking apps. I even considered sleeping in the lobby until a security guard informed me that the seating area closed at midnight. Olivia opened her laptop at the desk. The bed is 6 feet wide. That's not a business solution. It's geometry. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying the rare sight of Jason Reed meeting a problem he cannot spreadsheet into submission. I looked at the bed again. Pillows down the middle. Obviously. Separate blankets. Fine. No discussing this at the office. Her fingers paused over the keyboard. You think I want our coworkers imagining this? The edge in her voice landed harder than I expected. I realized I had framed the risk as mine alone. No, I said. I think Grant would use anything personal to question our judgment. That, she said, is the first intelligent thing you've said since check-in. I should have fired back. Instead, I took off my jacket, pulled out my laptop, and sat at the small round table beside her. For the first time in 3 years, there was no conference room full of people waiting to score the round. There was only one room, one deadline, and one client we could not afford to lose. We began by arguing over the first slide. My concept, designed for the life you're building, positioned Aurora House as a polished place for ambitious travelers. Olivia's concept, come back to yourself, focused on the quieter reasons people stayed in hotels. Funerals, reunions, first jobs, second chances. Nights between one life and another. People don't book a room to discover themselves, I said. They don't book one to admire a slogan about ambition either. They book convenience. They choose based on convenience. They remember based on emotion. I leaned back. You always say that like emotion can replace results, and you always say results like numbers appear without people. We went silent. Outside, a siren moved down 7th Avenue and faded into the city. The heater rattled beneath the window. Olivia rubbed her hands together, then kept typing. I noticed she had not eaten since the airport. There was a paper bag from the lobby cafe on the dresser, the one I had grabbed while she handled check-in. I pushed half a turkey sandwich toward her. She glanced at it. Is this a peace offering? It's a productivity measure. Of course it is. But she took it. For the next hour, we dismantled each other's work. The strange thing was that neither deck survived, yet the presentation improved. I cut 4 slides overloaded with market data. Olivia removed a sentimental video concept that would have cost too much and taken months to produce. We found a phrase in a guest survey that both of us had highlighted. I just needed somewhere that did not ask me to be anyone. Olivia read it aloud, more softly the second time. That's the campaign, she said. It's one quote. It's the truth beneath the quote. I watched her open a blank slide. Aurora House, she said, thinking through it, is not where life stops. It's where people get enough room to decide what comes next, I added. So the brand promise is not escape, it's permission. She looked at me. There was no triumph in her face, no satisfaction at proving me wrong. Just recognition. We had reached the same idea from opposite directions. She typed a new line across the screen. Room for what comes next. I read it twice. That's good. Her eyebrows rose. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I want to make sure the hotel records it for historical purposes. Don't ruin it. I'm framing the moment. We built the rest together. I developed the customer segments and media plan. She shaped the emotional narrative. I would suggest a structure. She would find the human consequence. She would make a leap. I would build the bridge beneath it. By 11:30, we had stopped guarding our screens from each other. At midnight, Grant finally called. He appeared on video from a dim restaurant hallway, his tie loosened, his voice impatient. "Tell me you two are ready." "We rebuilt the deck," Olivia said. "The original directions were fighting each other." Grant's mouth tightened. "I didn't ask you to rebuild it." "The new direction is stronger," I said. "Whose direction?" Olivia and I exchanged a look. "Ours," I answered. Grant stared as if I had used a word he did not recognize. "The board expects to see who can lead. We can decide roles without pretending only one person contributed," Olivia said. Grant ignored her and addressed me. "Jason, you open. Olivia can handle research questions." Olivia sat very still. "She should present the brand narrative," I said. "It's her strongest section." Grant smiled without warmth. "You're being generous. Don't confuse that with leadership." The call ended a minute later, after he reminded us that careers were made by people who knew when to step forward. Olivia closed her laptop. "What?" I asked. "Nothing." That was clearly something. She stood and walked to the window. Her reflection floated over the dark glass, the city lights cutting through it. "He has said some version of that to me for 3 years. That you need to step forward. That I need to know when not to." I thought of all the meetings where Grant had introduced me first, asked me to summarize work Olivia had led, or praised my ability to command a room after calling her directness abrasive. I had noticed pieces of it. I had never assembled them. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. She turned. "Would you have believed me?" The answer should have been immediate. It was not, and the pause told her everything. She nodded once. "Exactly." I felt defensive because she was right. "You've never exactly given me the benefit of the doubt. Neither of you." "Westbridge." Her expression changed. Not guilt, something closer to fatigue. "What about it?" she asked. "You presented the neighborhood strategy I developed." "No. I presented the strategy Grant assigned to me after telling me you had abandoned it. I never abandoned it. And I did not steal it." We stared at each other across the cramped room. 3 years of anger suddenly balanced on one fact neither of us could verify. Olivia opened her email, searched for something, and turned the screen toward me. It was a message from Grant, dated 2 days before the Westbridge pitch. "Jason is taking his concept in another direction. Use the community return framework. He agrees you are better suited to present it. I read it twice. I never agreed to that." "I know that now," she said. "Why didn't you show me?" "Because after the pitch, you accepted the praise. You looked at me like I had proven everything you thought about me. I decided I was done asking men in that office to confirm I had earned my own work." The room seemed smaller. Grant had not merely failed to correct a misunderstanding, he had created it. The promotion no longer felt like a prize sitting between Olivia and me. It felt like bait. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Olivia said, "We still have a presentation at 9. It was exactly the kind of sentence I would have used to avoid a difficult conversation, which made me dislike hearing it from her. "We can finish the deck," I said, "and still admit Grant has been playing us against each other. Admitting it doesn't fix it. No. But pretending it didn't happen helps him." She closed the email and returned to the table. "Tomorrow, we win the account. After that, I decide what I'm doing about Grant. Not we." I heard the distinction. I wanted to ask whether she planned to leave Halcyon, but I had not earned the answer yet. So I opened the deck and worked. Around 1 a.m, Olivia's phone lit up with a message. She read it, typed a quick reply, and turned the screen face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "My brother." "You have a brother?" She gave me a dry look. "I also have parents, a social security number, and opinions unrelated to campaign strategy. I meant you've never mentioned him. Eli is 19. He's at DePaul. Marketing, music education. He has taste. I smiled, despite myself. What did he want at 1 in the morning? He has an audition tomorrow and is pretending he isn't nervous. So you're pretending you aren't worried. I'm not pretending. The words came too quickly. I waited. She exhaled and looked toward the bed. Our father died when Eli was 13. My mother works nights at a rehabilitation center. I helped with him more than I probably should have. When something matters to him, I still feel like I need to keep the whole world from touching it. There was no performance in her voice. She was not offering the story to make me see her differently. She was answering because I had asked, and because the hour had stripped away our usual defenses. My mother died when I was in college, I said. Olivia looked at me. Cancer. Fast enough that I spent the first month believing the doctors had missed some obvious solution. I rubbed my thumb over the edge of the table. After that, plans became important. You mean sacred? Something like that. And when plans fail, I make better ones. That sounds exhausting. It works. Does it? I almost answered with my resume. The promotions, the awards, the apartment with a view of the river. Instead, I thought of Claire, the woman I had planned to marry until she returned my ring 6 months before the wedding. She said I treated our life like a campaign, I told Olivia. Every problem had a strategy. Every conversation had an outcome I wanted. She said there was no room in the relationship for anything I couldn't control. Olivia's face softened, but she did not offer easy reassurance. Was she right? She asked. Partly. That's a very controlled answer. She was right, I said. The admission settled between us. Olivia reached for the sandwich wrapper, folded it into a small square, then folded it again. For what it's worth, I don't think you're heartless. I didn't know that was under review. I think you're afraid of being useless, so you make yourself necessary. The accuracy of it felt invasive. I looked at her. And you make yourself impossible to dismiss. Yes. She did not smile. The heater clicked off. The sudden quiet made every small sound noticeable. Traffic below, the hum of the minibar, her breathing. I said, Grant's wrong about you. Which part? The part where he thinks you should know when not to step forward. Her gaze held mine. Then she looked down. Careful, Reed. That almost sounded sincere. It was. That's more dangerous. The air shifted. I cannot describe it any other way. Nothing dramatic happened. She did not move closer. Neither did I. But for the first time, I was aware of the exact distance between us and of how little space the room gave us to ignore it. Olivia broke eye contact first. We should rehearse. We stood near the television and ran the presentation. She delivered the opening with a steadiness that made the campaign feel inevitable. I interrupted twice to tighten the transition. She interrupted me 3 times to remove jargon. By the 4th rehearsal, we moved without stepping on each other. At the final slide, she said, Aurora House gives people room for what comes next. I answered with the closing data point, then looked up. She was closer than I expected. A strand of hair had fallen across her cheek. I lifted my hand before I thought about it, then stopped. Her eyes dropped to my hand. Jason, she said quietly. I know. This job is already complicated enough, I know, and tomorrow one of us may still get promoted over the other. I know. She held my gaze. Then don't do something we can both explain away later. The words stung because they were a boundary, and because they were also an admission that there was something to explain. I lowered my hand. I won't. For 1 second, disappointment crossed her face, or maybe I imagined it because I felt it too. She stepped back. Good. We finished at 2:15. I offered to sleep on the floor. Olivia pointed out that the carpet had probably survived several decades of conventions and worse decisions than ours. We built a wall of pillows down the center of the mattress instead. She took the side near the window. I took the side near the door. When the lights went off, the city painted a pale rectangle across the ceiling. Jason, she said after a while. Yeah? If Grant really set up Westbridge, what else did he change? I turned my head toward the darkness. I don't know. That was the truth. It was also the first thing that frightened me more than sharing a bed with Olivia Bennett. I woke at 5:48 to the sound of Olivia's laptop opening. For half a second, I did not remember where I was. Then I felt the pillow barrier against my shoulder and saw that her side of the bed was empty. She sat at the desk in the blue light before dawn, fully dressed, her hair pulled back, reading an email with both hands pressed flat beside the keyboard. What happened? I asked. She did not answer. I sat up. Olivia? She turned the screen toward me. The message was from Grant. Confidentiality breach, immediate response required. Below the subject line, he wrote that Meridian Strategy, one of Halcyon's largest competitors, appeared to have obtained the Aurora house deck. He claimed a forensic review showed the file had been exported from Olivia's personal laptop at 1:17 a.m. He instructed her not to attend the client meeting until legal reviewed the matter. My stomach tightened. At 1:17, Olivia had been sitting beside me, building the financial forecast. Did you export anything? I asked. Her face went still. No. Did you send the file to your personal email? I sent a draft to myself on Tuesday because Halcyon's remote server went down. Grant approved it. That gives someone a path to make it look like I know what it gives them. She stood so quickly the chair struck the wall. Her phone rang. Grant. She put him on speaker. Olivia, he began, using the careful tone people choose when they want cruelty to sound procedural. Do not go to Aurora House. You know I did not send that deck to Meridian. I know what the logs show. Which logs? Our security vendor is reviewing them. Then why have you already decided I'm responsible? A pause. Grant said, Jason, are you there? I looked at Olivia. She did not ask me to stay silent. I'm here. You need to take the meeting alone. Use the backup deck. Do not mention this unless the client raises it. The leaked deck contains both our work, I said, which means you have every reason to be angry. I am. Just not at her. Olivia's eyes shifted to me. Grant's voice hardened. Be very careful. Loyalty is admirable when it isn't confused with evidence. Evidence can be manipulated, and so can people. There it was, the invitation. He wanted me to look at Olivia and see the rival I had distrusted for years. He wanted the old story to do his work for him. I asked, how did Meridian get access to the file before your vendor finished reviewing the export? Another pause. Smaller this time. What are you implying? Grant asked. I'm asking a question. I'm telling you to protect your career. He ended the call. Olivia gathered her charger and slid it into her bag. Where are you going? I asked. To the meeting. Good. She stopped. You thought I was going to argue? I thought you might decide the safest move was presenting alone. The safest move is exactly what Grant expects. And that matters to you now? Yes. Because you trust me? The question was direct enough that I could not hide inside strategy. Yes, I said. Because I was beside you at 1:17. Because Grant created the Westbridge fight. Because he knew about the leak too quickly. And because I'm done letting him choose what I think of you. Something moved in her face, but she kept her voice even. Trust is not the same as proof. No. So we get proof. I called Malik Torres, a senior systems analyst at Halcyon, and the only person who had ever beaten me at office chess. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding half awake, and deeply offended by the hour. I need you to check the Aurora file history, I said. Do you know what time it is? 5:56. That was not a request for precision. I explained enough to make him quiet. Send me the file ID, he said. I can review access logs, but if Grant has legal involved, this gets dangerous. It already is. After I hung up, Olivia watched me. You realize Grant could fire you for that call? She said. He could fire me for wearing the wrong tie if the board lets him. That is not an answer. It's the one I have. We left the room at 6:20 with our laptops, our new deck, and no proof beyond the fact that I believed her. In the elevator, a family entered on the 12th floor. 2 parents, a sleepy little boy, and a girl carrying a stuffed rabbit by one ear. The children stood between Olivia and me, forcing us to opposite corners. The absurdity of it made her laugh. It was the first time I had heard her laugh without restraint. Not the sharp little sound she used when I made a bad suggestion in a meeting. A real laugh, warm and surprised. What? I asked. She shook her head. Nothing. We are heading into a corporate disaster after sharing one bed, and somehow the most awkward part of the morning is this elevator. The little girl looked up at us. Are you married? Olivia answered before I could. No. The girl considered that. You look mad like my parents. Her father covered a smile. The elevator doors opened. Olivia stepped out, then turned back toward me. One bed, she said under her breath. Relax. This time I heard what I had missed the night before. She was not mocking me. She had been trying to make an impossible situation smaller, manageable, survivable. I followed her into the lobby. For the first time, I wondered how many of her sharpest lines had been shields I had mistaken for weapons. Aurora House occupied 6 floors of a glass tower near Bryant Park. By 8:30, Olivia and I were in a waiting room with a view of wet rooftops and a television silently showing market news. Meridian's team sat across from us. Their lead strategist, Daniel Cross, wore the relaxed smile of a man who believed the room already belonged to him. On the table beside his hand was a printed deck. I could see only the corner of the cover, but it was enough. Room for what comes next. Olivia saw it too. Her fingers tightened around her portfolio. Daniel noticed. Strong line, isn't it? I took one step toward him. Olivia caught my sleeve. Not here, she said. He is holding our work, and a hallway accusation will make us look desperate. She was right. I hated that she was right. A woman in her early 60s entered from the conference room. Eleanor Vale, Aurora House's chief executive, had built a reputation for asking simple questions that destroyed bad presentations. Mr. Reed. Ms. Bennett. Her gaze moved between us. I understood there might be a change in attendance. There isn't, Olivia said. Eleanor studied her, then nodded. Meridian will present first. For 40 minutes, we listened to Daniel present a polished version of our old deck. He used my segmentation model, Olivia's guest language, and the visual framework we had abandoned before midnight. He even paused before the survey quote Olivia had found. I expected anger to make me reckless. Instead, it made everything clear. Meridian had our work, but not the idea we had created together in that hotel room. They had the pieces Grant expected us to protect from each other. They did not have the thing that appeared only after we stopped. When our turn came, I connected my laptop and closed the official deck. Grant appeared at the back of the room just as the screen went black. He must have taken the first flight from Chicago. His face warned me not to improvise. I looked at Eleanor. "You have already seen a version of the presentation we were supposed to give," I said. The room changed. Daniel shifted in his chair. Grant stepped forward. "Jason, may I speak with you outside?" No. It was the first time I had ever said that word to him in front of a client. I continued. "Some of our confidential material was obtained without authorization. We are investigating how. But the larger problem is that the material you saw does not deserve your business." Grant's face drained of color. Eleanor folded her hands. "That is an unusual opening. It has been an unusual morning." I turned to Olivia. For a second, neither of us knew whether the other would step forward. Then she did. "Aurora House asked us how to become memorable," she said. "We arrived with separate answers because our agency encouraged us to compete. Last night, we discovered the brand does not need a louder promise. It needs a truer one." I advanced to the single slide we had made at 2 a.m, room for what comes next. Daniel stared at it. Eleanor did not. She watched Olivia. Olivia told the story of a guest who had stayed at an Aurora property after leaving a 30-year marriage, not because she wanted luxury, but because she needed one quiet night before telling her adult children. Then I showed how that emotional truth connected to measurable travel patterns: relocation, caregiving, medical visits, reunions, job transitions. We did not sell escape. We sold a pause with dignity. We proposed training staff to recognize transitional stays without invading privacy. We designed local partnerships for guests beginning again. Transportation, childcare referrals, meal delivery, flexible check-in. Olivia made the campaign human. I made it scalable. At one point, I lost my place in the financial model. Olivia stepped in without exposing the mistake. Later, a board member challenged the operational cost. I gave the answer, then pointed back to her research instead of claiming the conclusion. We stopped performing as 2 candidates. We became a team. When we finished, the room stayed quiet long enough to frighten me. Eleanor looked at the final slide. Who wrote that line? Olivia and I answered at once. We did. A small smile appeared on Eleanor's face. Then Grant's phone buzzed. Mine buzzed a second later. Malik had sent a message. The Aurora file had been exported through Grant's administrator credentials at 1:17 a.m. Chicago time. The export had been routed through a remote access token issued to Grant's tablet. Malik had attached a server log and warned me that someone was already trying to delete the record. I handed my phone to Olivia. She read it, then looked at Grant. He recovered quickly. Administrator credentials can be spoofed. This is not the place for internal speculation. No, Olivia said. The place was 3 years ago, when you started assigning our work to each other. Grant's eyes flashed. You are in no position to make accusations. Eleanor rose. Actually, she is in my conference room, and your competitor presented material that matches a confidential deck your firm submitted to us yesterday. I would say her position is relevant. Grant tried to regain control. Eleanor, Halcyon will handle this. Aurora House will handle its own exposure. She asked security to escort Meridian's team to a separate room. Then she requested copies of the access logs, the original file history, and every communication concerning the pitch. Grant turned to me while the room emptied. You think this makes you a hero? He said quietly. You just destroyed your promotion. I looked at Olivia. She had spent years being told to know when not to step forward. Now she stood in the center of the room, while the man who had minimized her tried to make me fear standing beside her. No, I said. You destroyed it the moment you made it depend on betraying her. Grant's expression changed. Not surprise, recognition. He finally understood that the competition he had built between us no longer worked. The client did not award the account that morning. Eleanor suspended the process until Aurora House's legal team could determine how Meridian obtained the material. Halcyon's board placed Grant on leave before noon. By 1, every person in our Chicago office knew enough of the story to invent the rest. Olivia and I returned to the hotel in silence. The front desk had found a cancellation and offered us a second room. The night before, I would have accepted before the clerk finished speaking. Now, Olivia took the new key without looking at me. At the elevator, she handed me the key to our original room. "You should get some sleep," she said. "What are you going to do? Call my mother, call Eli, call an attorney, and after that?" She pressed the button. Eleanor offered me a position. The words landed harder than Grant's threat. At Aurora House? In-house strategy. New York. When? After the presentation. She said the offer stands regardless of whether they keep Halcyon. I tried to make my voice neutral. "That's a good offer?" "It is. Are you taking it?" "I don't know." The elevator arrived, but neither of us moved. I wanted to tell her not to go. The feeling rose so quickly that it scared me. Less than 24 hours earlier, she had been my rival. Now the idea of returning to Chicago without her made the office seem emptied of color. But asking her to stay because I had finally seen her would have been another way of making her future serve my needs. "You should choose the place that sees what you can do," I said. Her expression closed. "Right," she said. "The practical answer." "That isn't what I meant. It usually is." She stepped into the elevator. I caught the door before it closed. "Olivia." She looked at me. I could have told her I wanted her. I could have used the adrenaline of the morning, the shared bed, the almost touch, and called it honesty. Instead, I said, "I'm sorry I believed the worst of you for 3 years." The elevator doors pushed against my hand. She swallowed. "I'm sorry I decided you were comfortable with it." Then she pressed the button for her floor, and I let the doors close. Back in the room, the pillow barrier still divided the bed. Her coffee cup sat beside the laptop charger she had forgotten. I picked it up and saw a small crack near the handle, repaired with clear glue. For some reason, that nearly undid me. Malik called that afternoon. The board had confirmed Grant's tablet accessed not only the Aurora deck, but archived folders from 6 other accounts. The pattern was larger than one stolen pitch. Grant had been feeding selected material to Meridian in exchange for consulting payments routed through a shell company. The twist should have felt satisfying. It did not. Grant had cost us years of trust, but he was not the reason Olivia was leaving. I was. Or at least the version of me that had accepted competition as an excuse not to look closely. On the flight to Chicago the next morning, Olivia sat 6 rows ahead. For the first time in 3 years, I did not want to beat her. I wanted a chance to deserve her. 2 days later, Halcyon's board called an emergency meeting. Grant had resigned before they could fire him. Meridian had suspended Daniel Cross, though the investigation showed he had received the stolen files without knowing their source. Aurora House agreed to restart the pitch process if Halcyon could prove the work would be protected. The board offered me the project director promotion. I looked at the contract on the conference table. It included a raise, a corner office, and authority over the Aurora account. It also described the campaign as work developed under my leadership. I pushed it back. "This is not accurate." The chairman frowned. "You led the client response. Olivia built half the strategy and took the greater risk. If you want the account, correct the record. Create 2 equal director roles, establish written authorship standards, and give staff a way to report misconduct without going through the managing partner. That is a significant restructuring. So was 3 years of manufactured conflict. The door opened behind me. Olivia entered. I had not known she was coming. The chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Bennett has submitted similar conditions. She sat across from me. Mine are better organized. I laughed. For the next hour, we negotiated together. Not for one promotion split into 2 smaller titles, but for a new partnership model with equal authority, transparent credit, and independent compliance review. Olivia insisted neither of us supervise the other. I insisted her name appear first on the Aurora strategy because the emotional platform began with her research. By the end, the board agreed. Outside the conference room, I found her standing beside the windows overlooking the Chicago River. "What about New York?" I asked. "I turned it down this morning." My heart moved before my mind did. "Why? Not because of you?" "Good." She studied me. "That was fast. I don't want you to choose a job for me. I chose this because I want to build something better here." She paused. "But I hoped you would be part of it." I stepped closer. "I want to be part of more than the work." Her breath caught, barely. "I did not say anything in New York because you had just been accused, Grant had been exposed, and I didn't want a crisis to make the decision for us." I held her gaze. "But this is not adrenaline. It is not one night. I have been measuring myself against you for years because you were the only person whose judgment mattered enough to frighten me. Somewhere along the way, that stopped being rivalry." Olivia's eyes shone, but her voice remained steady. "What did it become? Love, I think. Or the beginning of it. I'm not asking you to trust the word yet. I'm asking for the chance to prove it." She looked down, then back at me. "You are very bad at relaxing," she said. "I've heard that. And you still over-prepare. Probably always will. And I am not going to become easier just because you finally understand me. I would be disappointed if you did." She closed the distance between us and kissed me. It was not dramatic. No one applauded. The city kept moving beyond the glass. But when her hand settled against my chest, I felt something in me stop bracing for loss. A year later, our Aurora campaign won the account, then an industry award. More important, guest satisfaction rose, and the brand funded transition stay grants for families traveling during medical emergencies. Olivia and I returned to the same Midtown hotel for the ceremony. At check-in, the clerk apologized. "There's been a mistake," she said. "We only have 1 room available." I looked at Olivia. She took the key, slipped her hand into mine, and smiled. "1 bed," she said. "Relax." This time I did. Sometimes love does not begin when 2 people stop challenging each other. It begins when they finally challenge the lie keeping them apart. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Would you choose the safe promotion or the person who made you become better?